The smell of garlic bread and simmering marinara sauce filled the air as Marcus Hale sat in a booth at Carmelo's, the family-run Italian restaurant tucked between a bookstore and a laundromat. It was Friday night, and the place buzzed with warmth. Clinking glasses, low laughter, the shuffle of waiters balancing trays heavy with pasta dishes. Across the table, his daughter Lily was sketching flowers on the back of a kid's menu. Her head tilted, tongue sticking out slightly as she focused. Marcus watched her with quiet pride. She was his anchor, his reason for keeping his life steady after years of storms. At 9 years old, she had her mother's spark but his determination. This night was supposed to be simple. Dinner, laughter, maybe a shared ice cream sundae. For Marcus, those little rituals meant the world. But peace is fragile. The bell above the door jingled, and Marcus glanced up out of habit. 2 men entered. The first was broad, clean-shaven, dressed like a businessman on the edge of respectability. The second was leaner, with tattoos crawling up his neck. Both carried themselves like predators walking into a cage they already owned. Marcus's pulse ticked up. He knew the type. He'd spent years dealing with them, sometimes arresting them, sometimes bargaining with them, sometimes fighting them in alleys where nobody bothered to ask questions. Though those days were behind him, the instincts never left. They moved straight to a booth behind Marcus and sat across from a young man, barely more than a kid, hair messy, shirt collar damp with sweat. He clutched his glass of water as though it could protect him. Marcus tried not to listen, but words carried. "You had your chance," the broad one said, voice calm but sharp as a knife. "You don't get to run," added the tattooed man, leaning in close. "You pay what you owe. Tonight." The kid's hand trembled. I just need more time." Marcus's gut twisted. He wanted to focus on Lily, on the crayons and spaghetti she was about to order, but his mind was already calculating. Exits, reactions, consequences. Then slam. The broad man's fist struck the table, rattling silverware and drawing startled glances. The kid flinched so hard his glass tipped over, water spilling across the table. The whole restaurant went quieter, though no one moved. People looked away, pretending not to notice. Marcus didn't look away. Something old and dangerous stirred in him, a shadow from a life he'd promised himself he'd left behind. He saw Lily, her crayon frozen mid-stroke, confusion flickering in her eyes. He pushed his chair back, the legs scraping loud against the floor. He stood steady but unshakable and turned. "Wrong table," he said, his voice low, measured. His eyes met the men's, unwavering. Then he added, "Wrong day, gentlemen." The tattooed man blinked, surprised. Then he smirked. "And who the hell are you?" Marcus almost said it. "I used to be someone who made men like you disappear." But instead he answered with a shrug. "Just a father trying to eat dinner." The broad man stood, towering over the booth. "Then sit back down, Dad, and keep eating. This isn't your business." Marcus stepped closer, his shadow falling over their table. He leaned just enough to let them see something in his expression, a calmness that wasn't peace, but warning. His voice dropped. "It became my business the second you threatened someone in front of my daughter." The young man looked at Marcus with wide, desperate eyes like a drowning swimmer spotting a lifeboat. His lips parted, but no words came. The tattooed man laughed, but it sounded thin. "You've got no idea who we are, old man." Marcus's jaw tightened. "I don't need to know who you are. I know what you are. And I've seen enough men like you to fill cemeteries." The words hung heavy. Around them, waiters froze mid-step, customers glanced at each other nervously. For a long, tense beat, it seemed violence was inevitable. Marcus's body coiled, every nerve prepared. He wasn't looking for a fight, but he wasn't afraid of one either. The broad man studied him, eyes narrowing. Then he muttered something under his breath, shoved his hands in his pockets, and motioned to his partner. With a scrape of chairs, the 2 men stood and stalked toward the door. As they passed Marcus, the tattooed one hissed, "This isn't over." Marcus didn't reply. He didn't have to. The bell jingled again as the door shut behind them, and the restaurant seemed to breathe out all at once. Lily tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, why were they scared of you?" Marcus knelt beside her, brushing a stray curl from her forehead. "Because sometimes, sweetheart, it takes more courage to stand up without raising your fists. That's what scares bullies." The young man stumbled to his feet, his voice cracked as he spoke. "I don't know how to thank you. They would have—" Marcus raised a hand gently. "Then don't thank me." Just make sure you don't give them another reason to come after you. You've been given a second chance tonight. Use it." Tears welled in the kid's eyes. He nodded hard, then hurried out, shoulders lighter than when he'd come in. Dinner resumed slowly. Conversations trickled back, cautious at first, then fuller. Marcus returned to his seat, heart still pounding though his face remained calm. Lily smiled up at him as if nothing had happened, then asked, "Can I still get the spaghetti?" Marcus chuckled, the tension loosening from his chest. "Yeah, kiddo, you've earned it." Later, as they walked home under the streetlights, Lily slipped her small hand into his. "You're like a superhero," she whispered. Marcus smiled softly, though the word cut deep. He knew what he had been once, a man with a badge, a gun, and orders, that blurred lines between justice and survival. That life had nearly destroyed him, and he had sworn it was over. But maybe, just maybe, he could still be something better. "No, Lily," he said quietly. "I'm just a man trying to do the right thing, one choice at a time." And with her hand in his, he believed it. Sometimes redemption doesn't come in grand gestures. It comes in ordinary moments, in spaghetti dinners, in wrong tables, in wrong days that turn out to be exactly right.